When we look at Earth from a distance, it looks familiar. But oceans cover roughly 71% of the planet's surface. Dive in, and at first, everything makes sense. You see the sunlight filtering through the warm water, you recognize the colorful coral reefs, and the familiar apex predators, like sharks, patrolling the shallows. This sunlit layer is the version of marine biology we learn in school. Look at this vertical scale of the ocean. That sunlit layer is just a tiny sliver. The average depth plunges to 3.7 kilometers, and the deepest trenches hit 10 kilometers below the surface. The vibrant world we know is basically just a thin roof. Beneath it lies a massive, permanently dark environment. It would instantly crush a human, but for organisms that have adapted to the extremes, it is a perfect habitat. So far, researchers have officially discovered, studied, and cataloged hundreds of thousands of marine species. Looking at this proportional chart shows how massive our blind spot is. The small colored section represents every officially known marine species. The enormous empty space represents the estimated 2.2 million species that likely exist in our oceans. You can't directly count animals you haven't actually found. Instead, researchers use complex statistical models based on new discoveries to map out the biological diversity logically missing from our records. The math points to an unavoidable conclusion. Right now, there are potentially millions of completely undocumented organisms swimming, crawling, or floating in the dark, entirely absent from human science. To understand why they remain hidden, you have to look at their habitat. As you descend, the sunlight completely disappears. The temperature drops near freezing, and the weight of the water above creates a crushing pressure hundreds of times greater than at the surface. These extremes make physical exploration incredibly slow and expensive. Standard machinery gets destroyed down here, which is why a scientist might meticulously study one small patch of the seafloor while thousands of surrounding miles stay totally unmapped. And the environments we do manage to reach force us to rethink how biology works. Take hydrothermal vents, places where superheated, mineral-rich water blasts out from the ocean floor. Down here, there is no sunlight for plants to use for photosynthesis. Instead, entire communities rely on chemosynthesis, pulling their energy directly from the toxic chemicals in the water. This process supports dense ecosystems, like these giant tube worms, thriving where humans would instantly die. The deeper you go, the weirder the adaptations get. Animals produce their own light through bioluminescence to hunt in the pitch black. Fish develop upward-facing, transparent heads to catch faint silhouettes, and creatures like the vampire squid navigate waters with almost no oxygen. When you remove sunlight and add freezing temperatures and immense pressure, the standard rules of biology warp. The result is life that looks and behaves like it evolved on another planet entirely. So, if this deep-sea environment is too vast and hostile for standard exploration, how are scientists actually accelerating the rate of new discoveries? Part of the answer is robotics. We deploy deep-sea remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, to act as our avatars. They can handle the immense pressure and record high-resolution footage without putting human divers at risk. But the real leap forward comes from a technique called eDNA, or environmental DNA. This allows researchers to detect an organism's presence entirely from a scooped-up water sample. As animals move, they leave behind tiny traces of genetic material. By sequencing the water, scientists can find a genetic fingerprint. They can prove an undiscovered animal exists in that specific area without ever needing to catch it or even see it on camera. Our method of cataloging life has shifted from dragging nets across the seafloor to invisible genetic tracking. We are literally mapping the dark by reading the chemical trails left behind. With all this unknown space, it is tempting to wonder if there is some massive, kraken-like sea monster still hiding out there. But large animals are noisy. They eat massive amounts of food, migrate across long distances, interact with other species, and leave heavy trails of eDNA. The chances of a giant beast completely avoiding our sonar, cameras, and genetic tests are incredibly low. The reality of this biological frontier is actually much smaller. The vast majority of the ocean's missing millions aren't giant beasts. They are microscopic. Organisms like archaea and bacteria thrive in the most extreme thermal and toxic environments on Earth. Because they survive under highly specific deep-sea pressures and chemical cocktails, they are extremely difficult for scientists to keep alive and culture in a surface-level laboratory. And this blind spot matters. These unseen microbes have spent millions of years developing unique biochemical survival traits. The enzymes and chemical reactions they use to stay alive in extreme environments hold untapped potential for human medicine and biotechnology. We live on a planet where humans have mapped continents, sent rovers to Mars, and walked on the moon. We can look billions of light years into the cosmos. Yet straight down beneath our own feet, entirely unknown genetic systems and ecosystems have been thriving in the pitch black for millions of years, completely off our radar. We spend a lot of time looking up, searching for strange, unrecognized forms of life. But the most alien creatures we will ever find probably aren't waiting for us out in the stars. They are waiting for us in the darkness beneath the waves.